jump right into the next slide. Yeah, by the way, I'm Tim Hollbaum. This is Ben Hodson right here. We're from Intium. Intium is a small company. That's probably on the next slide. I'll get into that later. So yeah, here's the agenda of what we're going to be doing. First, the Intium overview, kind of what our company is all about, what we do. We sell worldwide, so I'll tell you a little bit about our customers. Development history, all the different types of languages that we've done in our 19-year history. Talk about doing an MDI multiple document interface in a browser, how that works with our application. How we utilize the framework with both SQL Server and Oracle. That was real important to us because our customer base is about half and half for SQL Server and Oracle. Actually, it's more like 70-30, and we have a few people on MySQL as well. Then grid filters and pagination. Kind of, we basically took the basic grid as part of Silverlight, the data grid, and made some modifications to that, so it had some filters on the different columns. And we'll talk about using WCF RIA and Crystal reports. We had a Crystal report viewer. We have about 140 Crystal reports from our legacy application that we wanted to utilize inside of our program. Customizable dashboard. This comes a lot, requests a lot from our different customers where a director just wants to see a high overview of all the detail. They don't want to dive into the program. They don't want to see all the minutia. They really want to see the pie chart. Dynamic content management system. Because we sell worldwide and because of the different business practices that people will have, they want to rename things. So we have a little way to do that easily for users to customize anything throughout the system. And other tips and tricks. Okay, so a little bit about Intium. We're located in Kirkland on Market Street. We've been around for 18, 19 years, something like that. And our customers are universities, and Fred Hutch is one of them too. Brian, are you still working there? Yeah? No, you're not. Oh, and what the universities and legal do is we're the tech. Our product is sold to the tech transfer office. And this is, on average, you maybe have 3 to 5 users in this office. And what they do in a university is, if an inventor has a great idea, they'll go ahead and bring it to the office and make a disclosure, and that person there will help facilitate bringing that to patent and bringing that to industry. So I like to use the example where, let's say, an inventor comes up with a great idea for adhesive, comes to the tech transfer office will then go ahead and put a patent on that, and then call up 3M and say, hey, I got a great adhesive for your post-it notes. And then from there, they go ahead and collect royalty payments that they will then funnel back to the inventor. It's a real small niche industry, and we're by far the leaders. There's like one or two other players in the market, but they really don't, they come and go all the time. Well, yeah, go back to our plug there. Whenever we struggle with something, it took us a while to piece together how to do something. We always like to toss it up on DevToolshed. Ben is really good about anything that any 3 of us come up with. Oh, by the way, our other developer here, Ken Ju, and then our founder, Rob Sloan, is also in the audience there. Anytime we have a great idea that we took a while to come up with, we go ahead and put it up on DevToolshed. So you can take a look at some of the articles there. Okay, so some of the development history. We started this, it was 1992, I believe 1990, 1992, in that area that we started developing in a Visual Fox Pro. That was the application that was written in. Around 2000, we decided to switch everything over to MFC C++. And then that was starting to look pretty old school. People, about 2005, really started pressuring us. You guys got to go to web, got to be on web. And when the ribbon bar came out for MFC C++, went ahead and put that in and gave new looks to the interface. So that really helped us along. And finally, the pressure really started hitting about 2008, 2009, so they still wanted web. So we started playing around with Ajax. And we actually made a good prototype, it looked good, and we started outlining everything that we're going to have to build underneath. And we said, there's just no way this thing's going to hold up. It's just going to be too much Java that we're going to have to interact. The ASP.NET Ajax framework, there wouldn't be the controls that we would need to do what we wanted to do. So I think it was about August 2009 when Silverlight 3 came out in the spring, I think it was, and over that summer, that's when we said, this looks good. We finally have a combo box. So we started looking at that. The other requirement is, I think I mentioned this earlier, where about 70% of our customers are SQL Server, 30% are Oracle, and just 1 or 2 that are MySQL. We want to be able to support both bases with the same code. And there's 225 tables, so this is quite a large database. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Ben.
So this is what the application looked like, I guess starting in around 2000 on until about 2008 when we put the ribbon bar in. And so we were getting a lot of flack from customers and just this looking like old Windows 95 or whatever. You can kind of see the difference. So once we put the ribbon bar on, both of these are the MFC versions here. The reason we show you those is because it kind of gives a good comparison to what we were able to do with Silverlight and what we could have never done with just ASP.NET, at least without a lot of pain and suffering. So you can see it's just a prettier picture on what we had before, a little bit better toolbars and that sort of thing, and our limited icon design skills. So then this is the Silverlight application that we have today, actually. So this is inside the browser, and you can see it's almost an exact duplicate of what we had, or what we have in MFC running right now. We've made a lot of upgrades to this interface, though, because Silverlight lets us do things that MFC is really hard to do, or we don't have really a way to do it without lots of pain and suffering. So let me just jump out real quick, and I'll run the application live here and kind of give you guys an idea. You know what, I probably should have started building. I'm just going to take a minute here. All right. While I'm doing that, let me talk about the architecture while it's building here. So, like I said, this is the basic architecture. This doesn't really tell you a whole lot, except for it kind of gives you an idea of what kind of stack we built on, and a really high level of the architecture here. So, obviously, we have our Silverlight application, and then we kind of developed it. There's like the main ZAP file, which we call the web app, and then there's like a core component that has a lot of reusable Silverlight controls and code that we can share on other Silverlight projects that's not directly tied to the data access layer. And then we have this thing called the data access stub. One of the big pet peeves, and you'll see this a lot on the DevToolshed blog that we have, is that Silverlight automatically assumes tightly coupled applications, right? Ridiculously bad. And so, and every example you'll see, and probably every example we'll see tomorrow, will be a tightly coupled example, right? And so we were trying to think of a way. It's super important for us to have our data access layer be its own thing and not directly tied to the RIA services necessarily and that sort of thing. So we figured out a way to like hack it and reverse engineer it by using this data access stuff, which the Silverlight app calls into that, and that's the only thing that knows about the data access layer. It allows us to keep it completely coupled, and we actually can separate our RIA services from our data model. And we put an article up on DevToolshed about how we did it. We got pretty good feedback, even though, you know, Scott got 3, I think, on there. So, anyways, and then of course we're using RIA and the entity framework and that sort of thing. So, oh, let's see what the apps are. Here we go. Okay, so here it is. Just log in real quick.
Secure password.
Yes.
Well, you won't find it.
It's a local database. It's when you have to keep running it over and over again all day to check things, then your password gets smaller and smaller. So there's lots of user entertainment here because one thing we haven't delved much into is MEF yet.
No.
Right, but that's what we're thinking because it's getting somewhat large. We have lots of libraries and all kinds of things coming down. So here it is. So in following what Tim would give, like here would be your inventions, your disclosures. You can open those up, and then you see we've got this grid here, and we use this tabbed interface that we set up. So that's a big improvement on the MDI, the thing that we had in MFC, because those boxes, you have to keep moving them around to see what you want to see, and the tabs are just so much more convenient. And then maybe after you have some inventions, and they turn into technology. So here's a list of technologies, and then you can go look at one of these, and lots of test data in here right now. And now you've got a technology form, and we've got all these tabs here that are hooked up that let you see all the information about what patents are tied to this technology, and what inventions that have to do with it. You know, the manager, lots of dates, all these kind of cool little controls, all in this interface. We also got, so you can manage contacts and companies. Not really the
point here to necessarily tell you about the app as much as just give you an idea of what's here. And then we've got this kind of context menu, which you guys have probably seen in Word and stuff, that automatically when you bring up this form, now you've got all these things you can do with this form, context sensitive. You move away, they go away, you come back to it, they're back on it, that sort of thing. So lots of fun little things that we did, and this is, of course, all running in Silverlight. In addition, we've got this dashboard, which we'll show you in more detail later. This kind of shows you, let's see, one of this is the data. Yeah, it's okay. So, chart, you know. And you can open this to different modes, how you want to move things around, all that kind of cool stuff. So, all right, let's jump back in here. Okay, so I'll turn it back over to you, Tim, to talk about how we did the MDI stuff.
Yeah. First thing here, to kind of show you, because Ben gave a great introduction there about the different controls we have in place there. One of the things that's not listed on here is what inspired me to push for Silverlight was when I saw Div Elements ribbon bar. When I saw their little demo of that, the little ribbon bar there across the top, that's why I said, I want Silverlight. From there now, Telerik, everybody has that ribbon bar, and pretty much all the different controls you saw in place there, that dashboard there, that's a lot of Telerik's code. It's not our code. We just basically, well, we'll get into that later. Did we have that in part of the slide? Which part? The files, the XML files, so we do the store, the XAML, and the SQL. No, that'd be cool if we were.
Wait, no, you're talking about dashboard elements?
Yeah,
no,
right.
I'll get to that.
And talk about the different tabs that we have down below. That's something that we built there and the dock windows. But the reason we have Dev Express on here is that actually came into play when we needed a little editor, and we need to be able to support RTF. And at the time, Telerik didn't have one, so we actually have Dev Express. So eventually we might migrate over so we're all exclusively Telerik, because everything right now is all pretty much driven off of that. Okay, no, it's fine. Oh, no, I'm good. Okay. Pretty much, whenever you see all the different forms coming up here, go back to here, well, including the dashboard, the technology, find technologies, any one of these different tabs. Go back into there. We have a class that we call the Form Manager. And what this allows us to do as we start segregating different things onto different DLLs, the forms aren't going to be able to know about the other forms. So what we do is we actually will communicate back up to the Form Manager. So that's a class that basically will allow one form to say, here, somebody has double-clicked on this tab, open up this form to this key, and the Form Manager takes care of that. It will then decide if that form is already open and activated, or if it needs to create a new form and make it hit to the database.